This is a battle we will win together.
Former Vice President Joe Biden.
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
President Donald Trump.
Maybe he's going to be great at the debate. 7 years.
The first presidential debate.
Have you begun to prepare for debates?
Wait.
I'm O'Donnell with after months. At Case Western University, the coronavirus pandemic.
By economic contraction since the recession, million Americans effort to quickly replace the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, and the latest revelations about President Trump's
showdown. There was the records.
Quite a night ahead.
The president is expecting these that he many.
The president keeps focused on those two issues. He can maintain in battleground states. Shouldn't it? This month, that's what we wanted to do.
As it stands now.
Absolutely, you could venture all over the place because he wants to shake things up. It's always been his way. University. Of Fox News and 20 presidential debates between former Vice President. This debate design the formats. Answers from each candidate to the and the question or two candidates. Serving as the health secretary to remain silent. So we and you can focus on what the candidates have to say. And the Biden. This night, so let's get going.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, your obligation, and President Biden, you say that this is an effort the president and Republican merit would 2 minutes.
At a great school, and we just won the election, and before we have the right to choose her, and very few people knowing who they was, other the Democrats wouldn't think about doing it. The only difference is they would faster. They know they had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have elections. They were stopped, and probably it would happen in reverse. So definitely would happen in reverse. So we want
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
First of all, thank you for doing this, and looking forward to this, Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe.
The American is by who they elect. It's made clear of the he ran on green on trying to get rid of will insurance, health, and goes in the court. On the court. Women's rights fundamentally changed. When unable to charge procedure mandate gets, and 100 million people will be taken away. It's not appropriate for this. If he wins,
people with pre-existing years ago, she said a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected
to the next
during that number. Going to extinguish people.
True.
Well, you're certainly going to socialists.
We're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open.
I proposed. We expand Obamacare, and one of the big debates we had with 20 in the nomination, we're saying how people, they can, they do, they will under my proposal.
Now, what you've said, and they're going to dominate you, Joe. You know that.
The party is what I, in fact, approved of. The deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out. And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died, how many of those? And so, well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID.
Joe, you've had 308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't. It wouldn't be 200. It would be 2 million people. You didn't want me to bet, which was heavily
Mr. President,
you would have. People.
You're not going
to. We are going to talk about COVID in the next. Go ahead.
The president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well, and so in the court.
Here, a case administration, along with 18.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual
when I finish,
mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse me.
opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That
big
is not
chunk
a
of
comprehensive plan.
That is absolutely to protect people
President,
with
on the
pre-existing.
moderate, and then you can answer your
Go ahead.
question. You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive Obamacare, and just this last symbolic executive order to protect people with pre. So my
Health care.
What about
All of the
pre-existing
things.
care?
An example, insulin. It's families destroying people, the cost to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact,
pay just a tiny fraction. Big stuff.
Sir, and to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
well, if we,
Says, by the way.
it will end of health care.
It does not. It's where they qualify for Medicaid, they can get that free in most states except governors who want Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would automatically be enrolled. The vast majority will not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed.
two.
That gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey, beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. How to
On
do is
Super Tuesday.
the deal. I got lucky tonight is the deal. Here's the deal. The fact so far. I want to make sure. I want to make sure he has,
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy, the
Go,
wrong
Joe,
night at
go.
the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed.
let him.
Manifesto number
The left.
number two.
You just.
Folks.
Mr.
Well,
President,
I tell you what, he is not for any help. Has caused one number million people getting health care.
Lower price.
And by the way, he doesn't know how. He doesn't know how to. He has never.
It's too expensive. Made it better. I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. Destroyed. That they should probably blame him. They'll blame me, but importantly, I just had Obamacare.
it's
Chris,
an
we
open.
went rid of it.
I understand.
It's
Have to-
cheap.
let
he sends out, again, doesn't lower your
there. You, but in fact, it wasn't by some of your Democratic Congress. So passed a talk. Are you willing to tell the American where you packing
taken that the vote? You're ready now. Because
we have ended this in the United States, and more than 2 have died. Even experts say that it could be months or even years before we get to anything approaching normal. For both of you is you and done so far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2020. People trust you more than health crisis going forward.
We, in fact, have 5% or 4% of the world. It is what it is because you are who you acknowledge you knew. The guy the people we how dangerous this was. He'd not even asked Shaw she was doing. He said we for being so transparent. Still doesn't have a plan. I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing. I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the money past in order to and bunker and bring together and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
Would have listened to you.
You have minutes, sir.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left 200,001 persons. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China, Russia. You know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at he's xenophobic, he's a racist, and he's xenophobic. You didn't think I should close.
It says 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country. You wouldn't have closed it for another time. My doing it early. In fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump of lives. Many of you, a Democrat governor, said, job. In fact, people that would not be necessary said that. President Trump did. We did. We made. You wouldn't have made ventilators. Now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great. Haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to it, they give you bad press on it. Because that's. Let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've got. We did. You don't have it in your blood. You can. Yeah. I
know how to do the job.
Well, in swine flu, H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own
14,000. 14,000. There was nowhere to
you make point.
There was no one. There's no. We didn't shut. Look, you folks at home, how many of you got this morning? kitchen table. How many of
you would people?
His own 200,000 people to now at the end of the year. Of the whole notion of a vaccine. We're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. We trust Dr. Fauci.
Okay, gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future. You both have asked. Focusing on the future for President Trump, you have repeatedly been at odds with some of your government's own tests. The head of the Center for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would to, like you said, mistaken. Those the head of your Operation Warp Speed has examined. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to these, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I spoke of great and that by a lot become very political. It could also be. Well, we're going to deliver it right away. We have our military that delivers soldiers. They can do two. All said
by Easter. By the way, maybe it injects blood. This is the same man. That was said sarcastically. And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year, but the doing will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out. If we get the vaccine, pray.
I want up on this question, though. You say the public, the science. In fact, tonight, your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public, quote, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. He pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees.
But you're saying you can't trust the scientist.
Well, no, you can't trust the scientist. She didn't say that. You can't.
She said the public health experts vote will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there are millions of scientists, there are thousands of great hospitals that depend on him. That's not. By the way,
they'll have the vaccine.
What he said, the lies he told you about the whole issue relating to COVID. He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February. Panic, or he just looked at the stock market. One of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die.
You go to Delaware, post in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? Nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Said this today.
And if you've had, let me just tell you something.
No,
if you're in charge of what I was put through, closed, greatest economy in the history of our country, and again,
we're going to get the economy in next segments.
Okay.
It's
okay. When it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect the virus, whichever of you ends up with. Much more reluctant reopening. Why, sir?
Because you don't have a plan. If I were running, I know you've got to just
tell it as you
They have a plan with them. Republicans, and he said, I mean, literally.
Probably play.
Question of openings and
Wait a minute. Let me. I can. The country. We just went through it. We had to because we know elderly people. But he wants to shut it down. If you look at certain states, Democrats November 3rd, because it's political. States are not doing well that are
President increasingly question the effect of masks, a disease preventer, and in fact, recently you have stated Are you questioning?
And if you look, I have a here, I put a mask on it. You know, when I think I need it. Social. I don't wear a mask like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask.
Vice President Biden, go ahead, sir.
The way open businesses provided money.
But I was asking, sir.
Masks make a big difference. His own head of the CBS, if we just wore masks if they're now in January, we'd probably save up to 1,000 lives.
They've also said
this person said the opposite.
So, well, look at he changes mind. He said, "Man, I'm okay with that."
One, because your different approach affected the way you have President Trump. You're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people. Outside, yes, sir. Agree. You are holding much smaller with you not. You go.
Well, here we have to say. I mean, the president and we use airports.
Are you worried about
we have a lot of
issues,
people?
sir?
Well, sir, it's outside. That's a big crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally in 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people.
And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, "Put on a mask." Those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm good. Okay. I'm worried about you. He's not out there.
No negative effect. No negative effect. And we've had 35, 40,000 people.
I want to.
Irresponsible way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically. On this.
If you could get crowds, you would have done the same thing. You can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on? Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected. Down
much faster.
In the second quarter. The unemployment rate fell to 8.4%. Federal Reserve says the hit is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. You say we are in a V. Vice President Biden, you say the American people into the economy. President
in history, plague came in, closed it to do, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of 4,000 people. Is too much. Should have never happened for China. But what happened is we closed down, and we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 months that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And again, he'll destroy this country. You know, a lot of people between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states, we have these. They don't want to. We're going to open up November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping closed. They're hurting people. What to do? They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. But they got a couple of there. It's like being in. And you look at what. Alcohol, it's a very, very sad thing.
As I said, posing the question, it's a V-shaped.
The difference is billionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the coke. Another billionaires raised another $300 billion. On the market. But you folks home, you folks living in Scranton and Claremont and all the small towns and working class towns. How old are you doing? In taxes.
I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes.
Worked on this way that he's going to be the first president to leave office having fewer in his administration than when he became president. One in American history. People who have lost their job, those people who have been on the front lines, those lives, they're dying. People who've been putting themselves in the increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it? Take care of America. You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home, to your health and your safety. Schools. Why aren't schools open? Because they were going to give him teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do national, not a national emergency. Nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. One now gone. He ought to get a job and take care of the and open safely.
All right. Sir,
Well,
we're going to get to.
I have to respond to that. People want their schools be shut down. They don't want the state shut down. They want New York. It's so sad. Almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure. They want to get back to their lives. I'm the one that brought back. Of Ohio.
Gentlemen, we're going to get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, 2016, the year you were elected, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of taxes, but I'm asking the specific question. Is it true you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in tax, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers. I paid $38 million 1 year. I paid $27 million.
Show the tax returns.
I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, go to the Board of Elections, 100-page or so report. I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have a very
asking you a specific question, which
But
is,
let me tell you,
I understand all of that.
Unleash
I
tax.
understand, Mr. President, I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how you pay
dollars.
You paid
dollars.
So not
Yes, millions of
$750.
dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see
When?
it. But let me just
Shalom?
say, Chris, it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax because I came here. I was a private. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through, and that's what it is. Bill, they depreciation, and for and we get tax credits like hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get massive, which by administration, you can believe that. Now the man got fired after that happened, but
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax put him in, and the school teacher makes. He says he's smart because he can take advantage of code, and he does take advantage of the tax. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts, and I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need help. People up there. Presidents doing things.
You're a senator.
You're
By
the
way,
worst
we're a
president.
Joe. I've been more in 47, more than 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of, including you gave me, including taking care of your vets.
Mr. President, about your plans going forward, because if you were elected president, big taxes, big spending. I'm going to focus. You propose more than $4 billion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what is the analysis done by Wall Street firms. 7 million more jobs in 4 years. An additional 1 economic growth, because it would be about buying American, that we're going to make the federal government spend $600 billion a year.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about tax, not spending.
Well, by the way, I'm going to eliminate significant of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax percent. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 federal, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay.
You do it before you were vice president with Obama.
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was your tax proposal.
I got it done. Boom, like it never boomed.
The economy is
President, let me pick up on that. You free market approach, where taxes more
American people.
Let me, in Obama's, you talk the economy booming. It turns out his final 3 years created 1.5 million more jobs. 3 years.
Lowest recovery. 29 was the slow. Also, they took over some here. All you had to do is turn the lights. You pick up a lot. But the slowest economic in 1920. When the stock market is jobs, also means 401ks. If you got in, terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll in
the worst recession short of I bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't booming.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming.
Well, sir, is it fair to say he blew it when low unemployment or COVID?
Yeah, but because he did, even before COVID, in the hole. Manufacturing, 2.
Chris,
Number 3.
Said it would. Chris. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing. Did fair.
I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought back do it. And in fact, they're going. It's not.
Many companies came in for Germany to Ohio,
not having
and they didn't come here to you.
Mr. Vice President.
So you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. Trade deals are the same. Talks about these great trade deals. Talks about the art of the deal. China's made perfect the art of the deal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest.
And no one billions of dollars takes to manage. You make millions of dollars. Also, while we're at it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with charisma to deserve it?
Question, not an answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really?
President, President, please.
Totally discredited it. Totally.
Mr. Vice, let the Vice President answer.
Was a report. I have the truth. His position has been thanked by under oath. So under oath. And I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh, really?
I did honorable. Well,
No, go ahead, sir.
that you've already fired most of them because you did a good job.
Some people don't.
Well,
with you,
it's hard to get anywhere. Excuse me.
Mr. President,
$3.5 million.
That is simply. Here's the deal. I want to talk about families, and I think.
Let him go.
The fortune and helping with government.
And that's
Mr. President.
My family, his family, it's about your family.
They
The
didn't
American
$3.5
people.
million.
He does. You need you, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
All right, that's the end of the segment. Well, we're moving on.
Didn't take.
No, the answer to the question is.
Dollars.
That is absolutely not true.
You're going to have. Might be different than the two of you. So here's the
point.
We have 6 segment. In that segment, you each have uninterrupted moments. In those 2 interrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say the question about ahead. The country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak or to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you have. Let's do one. The issue of race. Vice President in Charlottesville 3 years ago talked to find people was what directly led you often said that you believe you have done more for Black American than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you: why should deal with the race issues in the country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
From trying to require equity for everyone, equality of America, but never accomplished. But we've never. The reason people close your eyes. Feels carrying torches, veins bulging, and a company very fine people on both sides. No president ever said anything like that.
Finish
It is
Now,
2
second-
minutes, sir.
Is that when Floyd was killed, very church said that was the general who all he wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a try to generate racist division. This is a 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 have been killed. 1 in African Americans. This man is the savior of cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. And what he did has been disastrous for Africa.
President Trump, you have
predators. African Americans are super predators, and they've never gotten it. They've never gotten it. Just
no, sir. It's his minute.
so you did that and call you super. You have treated the African American population community. You have treated the community about as bad as. And that's why, if you look at the poll, I'm doing. Super predators, and you think that because you look at your testimony over the is concerned, and as far as the general concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support, law enforcement group in the United States. I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have, Portland, the sheriff, president. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, all of your those words, an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical. At any place you want to see at, they heard we following day, and they put up the hand. We got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. About the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical. Law and order. And I'll tell you what, law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. Taylor case decide not to charge any of them with homicide. You said raises the applied in America. Do you believe for blacks in this country?
Yes, there's injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good every day to take care of us. And then they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. What I'm going to work these things happen. Happy to see what happened to George. Don't like it. Where people held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never is never appropriate.
All right.
Yes. The mountain. No, it's not, but you say it.
In a moment. Your administration sensitivity to white privilege or to do that, to end racial sensitivity
because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of things that were absolutely insane. It was a radical schools, and you know it, and so does it.
Radical.
And he
sensitivity
had very bad ideas, and frankly, very sick. Happen to go back and they were teaching people to hate our country.
from Biden.
What is meaning to them? It's important to people know. In fact, we're all Americans. Is bring everybody do it together. We can take this on.
Sir.
During the Obama, you look at you look Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened. Are you in favor of
Law, you follow.
Are you in favor of law?
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime down 7. Up on his walk.
Had trouble with Democratic-run cities.
That's exactly my increase in homicides in America this summer. And you often have been equivalent spikes in the
because he'll lose his radical left supporters, and once he does that, is he ever got to run this country?
His failure to deal with COVID, his failure to deal with environment. They're being.
And do you support the Black Lives Matter call for?
Look, my support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face, and I'm not called to have someone with them as
law enforcement group that came out and supported.
Gentlemen, I think and I will get to another subject, which is the issue of Portland, Oregon. Would agree with us, many of those turned into riots. People who commit crime, though, is as the Democratic Committee, and earlier tonight you hey, bring in the National Guard of violence in Portland. To call, bring in.
in fact, take care of if he just stay out of the
Oh, really?
Here's
I said in the U.S. Marshals get the killer of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3 days,
President Trump,
in the U.S. Marshals, he took care of business.
Go ahead.
You know, his own former spokesperson said, you know, and chaos help us. That's what this is all about.
I don't think she did.
She said that. So here's what's the point? things down instead of going constantly, every single solitary night.
And answer down and not. And as we
Sure.
are you do it, sir?
Say it. Do it. Say it.
I'll tell you what. Right-wing problem. This is a
FBI. Yeah, not an organization.
You got it,
not
Ben.
malicious.
Tonight.
His FBI director.
You know what? He's
No.
wrong.
There's a
is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump-Biden records.
They'll overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask a question. President Biden ads saying, okay, sir.
Good. Everything was going. And by the way, there were people calling me for the first saying it's time. Maybe, and then what happened of the military and all of the other things. 308,000 people died because they didn't have care. He was a mess. And 81% prove that. But we've rebuilt our judges, Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3. When you leave office, you don't leave party because they have a different philosophy. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost judges. It's a
under this president, we become weaker. About the bounty on the head of American soldiers.
Your son got $1 billion.
My son.
Mr. President. And why don't you go question?
More just you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president. And with regard to Terry. In a year there, he was not a loser. He was a, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent
talking
like
about Hunter? Are you talking
I'm
about
talking about my. You're talking about
Hunter. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He wasn't dishonorable.
Became vice president. Once you in
that is simply
he made a fortune.
My son. A drug problem. He's overtaken it. and I'm proud of him.
But why
I'm
was he
proud of
given
my
10
son.
million?
President Trump, you've already been
Credited.
through, I think, the American
Moscow.
of displaced hundreds. For your 4 years, you climate change and
Clean water, air. I want beautiful, clean. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing this. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was his endpoint, and people are actually very happy about what's going on. Everything else, forests are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old and like bigger than the whole forest. We've got to have forest management.
What do you believe about the science?
To have immaculate air, immaculate.
Human gas emissions contributes to the global warming of the planet?
A lot of things. I think we have to do better management of our forests. I get the call, California burning, California's burning. If that was cleaned, if that were good forest management, you wouldn't be getting them. They live their forest. They manage their forests and tree fall. They ignite. Well with the government. You can every year burn to the of
But
management.
sir, I believe in science, climate. Have you rolled limited
is through the sky.
That are going to create more pollution from cars?
Well,
and
not
trucks.
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car. Happened because the cost of the cars. It would be much cars off the market because people would be able to afford. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And, and I'm okay with electric cars, too. Given big incentives. Done in California is just crazy.
I'd like you to rely on climate, but I also want to you propose $2 trillion in green jobs. About new, let's not abolishing, but new, and the use of fossil fuel 2035, zero net emission of greenhouse gases. The president says a lot of these things think the economy and cost me.
Absolutely wrong, number one. If in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap and other coal-fired plant in America, no oil-fired plant in America. Number two, their electric vehicles, making sure that we can do. We're going to put and all of the highways that we're going to be building provide for back in a way that in fact will they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will zero in terms of energy production 2035, not only people creating jobs, paying jobs, not wage, by having a new infrastructure. Thing I will join, because with it's all falling apart. And talk about someone in every bit of the United States. I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with down. They're going to have significant.
Says that you have to environmental interests, and he's drawn his line.
Well, he had methane not being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles. This is the guy who says that, well, in fact,
deal, and it's not $20 billion.
I'm talking about.
They want to rip down buildings and rebuild buildings.
No,
it's the most ridiculous. Where they right? This is that a country in 100.
Because actually, wait a minute, sir. Actually, 4 million buildings, one efficient homes. So the question becomes: the president is saying, who support the president would say that sounds hurt the economy.
Thousands and millions of jobs, good-paying jobs.
Let him finish, sir.
Fact is, of good-paying jobs and tax incentives to people get rid of. It's, look how much. That's what he said.
You made it.
Millions of, we're entire sections of counties in Iowa. They didn't have before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. But the rest of the we got to get.
37 years. See, Russia does, India does, they all do. Statement about the military. He said something about the military. Up and they went with it. What he did is stupid bastards. And he said on tape. He said stupid bastards.
Stop.
I would never.
Itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
Do you support the Green Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you
support the
radical left.
I work with the Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final. Should we ballots?
How they're going to vote. Homeland, as well as the FBI director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of even the resolution. Desk and send his ballot to. The polls are open on. And this is all about the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. In your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote. You will. He cannot be able to determine the outcome of this election. Accept it. But if in fact he says, tell you something, it doesn't matter, because if we get votes, power, it won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand. These lies.
The president, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking, there's been no from that election. Look at they came after me, spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won, even before I won. From the day I came down the escalator with our first lady, they were a disgrace to the country, and we gave the idea for Logan. Where is the ballot? Ballot. Okay. Soliciting that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happen to have a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching, you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well because people are really happy with the job we've done. Ballots are going to be over by November. That means that's 7 days after Democrats. It's
President Trump,
it's a rigged election.
You're going to be able to continue. You have been election. 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was that mail. Now
itself, but for the ballot is incredible. I just heard. I read. Go and vote. Vote. You go. Solicited ballot where you're lots of being done. This
had mail-in ballots for the last decade or more. And you don't have to solicit ballots sent to you. It's sent to your home. We're saying it has to be a postmark by time, by election. If it doesn't get into the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting votes because
you're wrong. You're wrong.
I want to continue on this. Biden, because in fact, excuse me, Vice President Biden, the biggest over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It is a sizable number, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out or there is some other irregularity or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't, this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's because someone made a mistake, dotting the correct dot. Testify. Legitimate.
Right.
Million ballots. Swamp the system. You've
right.
Been
So, gentlemen, states, we can talk in 8 states, election workers are prohibited currently by law. 8 states, ballots. You take them out of the envelopes and flatten them because there's going to be a huge increase on election night. It could be days, weeks,
Could be months.
until we find out who finally for the vice president will interrupt the other. Stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest, and will you pledge tonight that you will not until the election has been certified? President Trump, you go first.
Why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia. Bad. And I am urging people. I hope it's going to be. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that.
Do about that?
The cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President,
you think that's good?
Vice President Biden. Will you declare victory until the independently certified?
As you pointed out, some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of time to do it, by the way, by ballots, first since the end of the Civil War, in effect. Going to happen. Why was it not? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all related to mail-in ballot that there's somehow a fraudulent process. Deal. The fact is, because it was not me. I support the outcome. For Democrats.
That's the end of it. This is the end of this.
Count.
We're going to leave it there.
Two
more debates as we President Trump. It's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for agreed to engage. I want to thank Casey and the Cleveland Clinic for event. The next date, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of City's presidential nominees, President Mike Pence and Senator will date it. Watch until and good night.
A night of an interruption where the vice former of the president, who are the worst. Biden appeared to become prepared tonight. Trump seemed perturbed, and so Trump's strategy tonight was to interrupt, to try and steamroll not only his opponent, but also was unable to keep control of the two candidates. All asking to have two more of these debates with the type of behavior that was displayed tonight.
Do you know what I was thinking, Nora? I was thinking that they all probably want to drink after this, but all for very times painful to watch. You know, and I'm looking for the decor of this, but very hard to get at night.
And we should remember what the stakes are. They've never been higher while the debate's going on. We have 200,000 dead from COVID. We have an economy that is clearing, and we have significant ongoing. When the stakes were that high, opportunity in caring for a greater share of the jaggedness of tonight. In the midst of just a sawtooth.
Tonight about going to have more analysis. We're going to so there's still a lot ahead in this hour. I want to bring in now Major Garrett, who's fact-checking some of the claims tonight. Major?
Not all the claims itself was crosstalk on stage tonight. Yes, we would rate that true. Now, the debate said that 100 million Americans have pre-existing hearing. Here's why. To 51% of non-elderly Americans, meaning those of the age of 65, 100 have pre-existing conditions. COVID-19 said rate is low. Hospital disability has been confirmed. We rate that as misleading. The president contending that children of Nora and team is asserted that during the Obama Biden presided over the slowest economic recovery since 1929. The slowest recovery from a recession was a bubble burst. And as false.
Major, I have to just fact-checking that, get your take on what just happened tonight.
So, to your point, Nora, the president, he could distracted by him in contact with Biden, debate prep. The big challenge for the former vice president was to not take that, was to stay on point. He tried the best he could.
Major Garrett, thank you. We are joined now by the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., from us. And here.
For doing a $5 million and talk about tonight. That was step back. Why did Joe Biden do it? I mean, he cares about so much. He'd do anything about it for 47 years. I mean, I would have thought that if he really cared about the issue, as the vice president, the first African American president, he would have done it. But he wasn't. So when I look at my father, he takes that stance. If you look at differences, similar issues, the way it's the mainstream has decided.
Black and white hate groups proud.
That was a miss. Continually able to talk the gospel. Anyone who's reasonable, anyone understand people. It's why he's got out of these endless wars, because he didn't just get steamrolled by everyone who wants to take advantage of him. That's why Joe Biden has a 47-year record. You can't name an accomplishment. That's a problem. If you don't wait 15 when you have a minute that will be your boosters,
We're
it's
going to
not easy
talk
to
about
beat.
Donald Trump Jr. Thank you so much. Stay with if you want to see who American inside vice presidential candidate
That's right. Seatbelts.
History textbooks about our generation is so dumb lazy, they can't go vote.
Seeing other family members not as passionate, definitely give it a drive.
You don't have to be pro this person, pro this. Be pro voting.
You have that to be able to have that. You need to use that. It's one of the most important things.
Can't done before.
Called ADT. Be connected about my dog show.
We are live. We are live. Live? Wee!
Do you mix? We have two words. True journalism. CBS News. We believe true journalism. CBS News.
Debate. Where's do it? I wear a mask because I want to keep our community safe.
Fight it, just wear it. It's a barrier. By wearing this, you can help stop the spread of a virus. Because we want to be able to get back.
Mask and wear it.
But these are .com/hope finished by
That day changed everything. I remember driving to work, walking into school, then everything stopped. In front of me is how drug companies keep raising.
Welcome to the American people.
Have an ability to compare and contrast the Kansas United States, much as he has done over the course of the last 4 years.
Senator, you talked about the former vice president looking right into the camera, but his answer on court backing, adding more justices to the court, just sounds like straight up dodge. Talk about what he wants to do. What do you think should happen?
Well, I think he's very clear on which is leader or put a nominee while
Kamala Harris.
You call me. You vote for me.
Everybody's finally here. So
There, Robert Larson here. You know, with Simply Safe, you get comprehensive.
You get personalized loan options, closing costs.
We've got
that was important to do tonight.
And I think your point earlier, which was to the extent so long that
there will be more on your local news on CBS station and tomorrow on CBS This Morning. For Gail King and John Dickerson, I'm Nora O'Donnell, CBS News, Washington.
Wait to find out what
falls. Here, Amy was nominated to a which had signature support from some law professors who are known to be extremely liberal, but the vast majority of liberal political groups oppose her nomination. nation.
Arriving not too now still clouds. You can see some of those clouds even about drops though in the last it's a little bit drizzle now here. You'll see the big system that by long and even storms at times today has now we're at 50s and already report clear skies. And so
impact new enough website says for weekdays people on lunch and would clear around 1,200 Democrats and agree.
Money is so crucial for the people who need it.
Some have for employment, you have to get the money. And after so she contacted who wants to know Kennedy.
The numbers are truly staggering. More than 1 million people in Carolina have applied for unemployment benefits. One of them is Trinity Smith. Server, she was working with money.
Which the dating is not meet with because belief is illegitimate. White House is aiming for a confirmation ahead of November 3rd election. Confirmation hearings begin October 12th and last 3 to 4
folks, we're looking back at the data. I remember something in the cold cools down. Watch 74, just like that down to 59, and that's where we see continue to cool now, all the way down into those mid-50s. We have longer to go. One of the most dramatic pictures I saw today, it was actually out of Albemarle. This was a rotating thunderstorm like that in Randolph County, like that Albemarle County. Not a tornado, but it did look like it was at least to some extent. No reports of damage, which of course is good. We have a couple spotty tree down reports in Randolph County and Guilford earlier tonight, and one in Met as well. That front is pushing away from us, clearing be rapid. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, it is a sunny side that you start the day with, taking over with 60s for your afternoon. Now, there's another front in the offing for the rest of the night. So Thursday, actually, a little bit of a warm day in the 70s. Cooler air for the weekend, even cooler than what's right now. For tonight, still lingering showers and drizzle across the area. They coming to an end, though, around 2 to 3 a.m. at the latest. And then after clouds quickly get away from us. We have a nice day tomorrow. Morning. Probably news are out there. Thursday, that is all the time. Mid-40s for low morning and sun morning. It is good all weather. The only chance I can see for us to get a little bit of rain here. Possibly and the system as of right, I'll call it mostly cloudy, low rain chance, but overall dry and cooler weather starting tomorrow. Forecast we're back right after this.
News to the Garden is brought to you by Happy Tales Emergency Veterinary Clinic.
The first presidential debate to pull what candidates.
I was attempting to throw it award. To make decisions on leadership or military.
Preserve America for the content of the advertising.
He runs to families. Away games. And weeks. Big on the line living or life. Or more. Or shop on.
Corrupted to real no
Call company savory pork chop grills and we have for just bucks. call it a comeback.
It's both.
Family spread. The illness is bad. It's coming in. Kravic companies.
You don't wait on the weather. We bring it. What you need to know, and you need to know where you are. To weather.
About it.
Love Island. Love Island. I think I'd rather watch Love Island than another president.
Weeks in 2020.
True.
Enjoy the nice weather. Get a pumpkin or one of these things. Apple cider, perhaps. Just nice everybody. And then tomorrow.
WNY News Labs Pride Cox Toy in Burlington. Get test drive with $1,000. So before you buy, get to try.
Social Security. Sacred obligation, a sacred promise. The current president break that promise. He proposed to eliminate a tax for half the Social Security. Any way of making up for that revenue. I will not for